Hello, and welcome back to Dark Academia Queen. If you're new here, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I also have three sister podcasts you can go and check out if that's something you're interested in too. They're called True Crime Lounge, Just a Breezy Chat, and Sassy Southern Belle. If you recall, the first episode I talked about Edgar Allan Poe. Now, why am I telling you that? Well, Edgar Allan Poe is considered one of the most well-known authors of dark romanticism. So, and it's also one of my favorite genres of literature, next to Southern Gothic, of course. But what exactly is dark romanticism? Well, it is a literary subgenre of romanticism that reflects a popular fascination with irrational, the demonic, and the grotesque. It is often blended with Gothic fiction that is overshadowed with the euphoric romantic movement ever since the beginning of the 18th century. Poe, often celebrated as one of the most supreme champions of the tradition. Um, and Dark Romances primarily focuses on human fallibility, self-destruction, judgment, punishment, along with psychological effects of guilt and sin. So, where does the term Romanticism get its origins? Well, if you recall, in the Latin origins called Roman, um, which meant in Roman manner. Not only has it become an iconic style of art, but also had an effect on literature and music, and it was driven on emotions and imagination further than science and rationality. The Romantic movement would begin in Europe in the 18th century, at the end of the 18th century, and migrate to the Americas in the early 19th century. Between 1830 and 1865, American Romanticism authors were at their most productive within Romanticism. Two conflicting subgenres arose: optimists who believed in the human virtue and spirituality that formed in the transcendentalist movement, while pessimists who accepted human fallibility and our or proclivity of the sin that formed the dark romantic movement. So, Romanticism's celebration of euphoria, sublimity, and always has been dogged by an equally intense fascination with melancholia, insanity, crime, and shady atmosphere, with the options of ghosts and gals, the grotesque and the irrational. The name dark romanticism was given to this form up by the literary theorist Mario Fraz in his lengthy study at the genre in 1930, The Romantic Agony. According to the critic G.R. Thompson, dark romanticism, um, the dark romance adapted the image of anthropomorphized evil and the sin of Satan, devils, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, and gals as an embellic of the human nature. Thompson sums up the characteristics of the subgenre writing by saying that Fallon's man's liability fully to comprehend the hunting remainders of another supernatural whim that has yet seemed to exist. Now, what are some characteristics of dark romanticism? Well, we have to recognize that the attributes that come with the net artwork so that we can actually identify them. The characteristics that can define the dark romanticism are questioning the dark perfection of man, believing that man cannot be perfect and that man can never have perfection. People began to have less conventional perspectives of religion, to pay greater attention to catastrophes, and to let their investigation into trouble and realities into their daily life. Furthermore, the popular notions that humans are naturally subject to sin and destruction, um, and that people cannot ever really escape um, sin, and that people may destroy society. So, what does it mean on the impact of artists? Well, loneliness and sadness, desire and death, with the accession of horror, absurdity, and of dreams that are themes that explore in artwork. Artists like Salvador Dali, Rene Magritte, Paul Klee, Max Ernst continue to think in the spirit throughout this 20th century. Dark Romanticism also arose in reaction to the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and the widespread rationalization, emphasizing raw emotion, pure aesthetic experience, and other types of extreme emotion. What are some examples of this? Well, you can see it in Johann Heinrich Fuseli's painting, that's in the Goethe Museum. You got William Blake's The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed in the Sun. Francisco Goya, which is Sabbath. You can also find it in John Constable's sketch for the Hadley Castle, the Eugene Delacroix, the Evening After a Battle. Um, let's go over a brief timeline now. The American Renaissance was between 1840 and 1860, and this included dark romanticism and transcendentalism. Since it's allowed for the study in the gloomy ideas, writing and topics, dark romanticism had a huge effect on American literature. It also became a response to the transcendental movement of the mid 19th century, and the mental shift into thinking from the rigid religious Puritan thought to the dark, immoral point of view. Now, people were disinterested in optimism when they considered their sin and human nature. And authors and artists were not afraid to express their sinister side. Authors began to investigate the man's wicked nature before 1840, even before 1840. So let's go back to 1809 with Edgar Allan Poe. We know he was born in Massachusetts. He was probably one of the most influential writers of this time, and his themes focused on human sin, evil in man. His also works ushered a new era of dark romanticism. His narrated pieces such as The Fall of the House of Usher blend emotions and tragic perspective on love, bringing a fresh in-depth and darkness into storytelling and romantic fairy tales. Another fine example of this is Herman Melville. He was also another influential writer, but he is considerably different in his writing from Poe and Hawthorne. His themes focused on the truth and ragged edges. From 1840s to the 1870s, dark romanticism dominated literature and art, and the primary element employed in symbolism in that they would symbolize man's bad side and study human's nature's difficulties. And artists sought to show how evil rather than virtue consumes people, and how individuals' acts can lead to self destruction. Now, the 18th and the 19th century movements um, were, in- for, were heavy for national literatures. For example, the elements of the dark romanticism were perennial possibilities within the broader international movement of romanticism in both literature and art. We can find this in media, um, specifically in anime. Um, look at genre studies. Look at the genres we have, but we see it all over. That's the thing. There's even been fandoms about dark romanticism. For example, I think the most known is Harry Potter. And hey, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I am a Ravenclaw. Um, so me and my best friend Gabby are, in which you've seen her from on the first episode and on my other podcast. If you are a frequent follower on my podcast. Um, but yeah, but dark romanticism arguably did begin in Germany with such writers such as E.T.A. Hoffmann and Ludwig Tieck, also pre-romantic figures of Christian Heinrich Spies, and though their emphasis on central alienation, the demonic in sex, and the uncanny, was an offset to the same time by meaning homely cult of Valdemar. So, and let's like the Gothic novel. Keep in mind, Gothic, that's gonna be an episode I'm really excited to work on because, oh my gosh, you guys don't know my emo Gothic phase I went through in high school. You really don't. Sad part is, it's not really a phase. You never really outgrow it. But like the novel, Swarzwick is a genre based on the terrifying side of the Middle Ages, and they frequently feature the same elements. However, his elements are necromy and secret societies, and is remarkably more pessimistic in the English Gothic novel. All the elements are the basis of Frederick Schiller's unfinished novel, The Ghost Share, and the motive of the secret societies is also present in Karl Gross's Horror and Mysteries and Christian August Wolf's Ronaldo um, in The Robber Captain. In Benedict Nobo's novels, Herman of Uma is seen to be very close to this genre as well. Now, what are some authors and works? Well, aside from Poe, it includes Christian Heinrich Spies. Some of these names, Hans Heltling, and all of that. Now, for 2 decades, the most famous author of the Gothic literature was in Germany. Let's talk about dark romanticism in Britain now. Well, we have authors like Lord Byron, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Mary Shelley, and John Polity, who frequently lean to the Gothic fiction, but are also sometimes referred to as dark romantics. I feel like a Taylor Swift song would be like that, but I know she has new romantics, but still. Okay, that's my Taylor Swift reference for you. But dark romanticism is characterized by stories of personal torment, social outcast, and usually offers commentary on whether nature of man can be saved or destroy him. Now let's talk about the American rise. And I think, as I said, Poe is considered to be the father of dark romanticism, but Nathaniel Hawthorne and Melville are also predecessors as well. And this is as opposed to the perfectionist beliefs of transcendentalism, and these darker contemporaries emphasized human fallibility and proneness to sin and self-destruction, as well as difficulties to inherit in an attempt to social reform. Also, while we're on the topic, France. Now, here's the thing: the 19th century fantastic literature after 1830 was dominated in the influence of E.T.A. Hoffmann, and then that of Poe, and French authors like Jules Barbie, D'Arvey, Charles Baudelaire, and all of that. Like, they had dark themes found in German and English literature as well. But yes, so that is it for dark romanticism. What do y'all think of it? I do plan to do gothic fiction, but I also am going to be talking about the catacombs of Paris eventually with my friend Gabby, and we do plan on talking about carnivorous plants. I promise. If you've been you heard us talking about that. But yes, that's it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time.